Are battery-operated decoys worth the money? Well, when it comes to duck hunting, there are so many to choose from. How do you know which one's best? There's the pulsator, Malor machine, flock of flicker, spinners, flashback, quick koi, quiver magnets, rippler, shakers, kickers. Now, I've used a bunch of them. Some of them are great. Which one is your favorite? Let me know down in the comments. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you my experiences with motion decoys, the good and the bad. I'm Joel Strickland, and this is Surviving Duck Season. Hey, thanks for watching. So, motion decoys, are they really worth the money? Well, that's the question that everybody wants to know about all the different products that are out there. Well, I'm not going to try to qualify if something's worth it or not, but I will say if it works and it fools the ducks to get them close enough for you to shoot. And number two, will they survive duck season? Will they last? So I'm going to share with you several of my top product picks over the last several years from my hunting, and then we'll talk about how durable they are and will they survive duck season. So let's get into it. So this is a very popular style of water motion decoy for ducks. A lot of people call these butt up ducks, squirter ducks, butt squirters, that sort of name. This is a pulsator from Higdon. Like most of the other butt up type of squirting decoys, they all kind of work the same way. They have a battery that's rechargeable. They all have some type of a bilge pump underneath mounted to the bottom of a duck butt, and then it squirts the water out of this. It'll hit the back of the butt and it makes the decoy move around. It moves a lot of water. Some of them better than others, and I've used these Higdon pulsators, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 years at least. They've done a great job for me over the years. And so I'm going to show you how this one works. You plug into this charging port. It's a charging port, and it's actually the port that you plug this into to make it operate, like so. And then it's immediately on. Just like that, you hear the little motor running. And now it's squirting. With the pulsators, you only need a little bit more water than the decoy is deep. So you set it in the water, and if it floats, it pretty much is going to work. They do move a lot of water. You can tell that I've got these heyday decoys that look awesome in the water, but when there's no wind and there's no current, they just look like statues. And so you got to do something to move the water, and that's why this type of a product works really, really well. Again, this is the Higdon pulsator. Now, I will say this. I've had these for, I don't know, at least 10 years. I've been using them. There's been different versions of them. Some of them had a little plug-in thingy with a long box and all that. And they all, you know, pretty well do the same thing. But I'll say this, in the last several years, mine have not performed as well for me as they used to. I've bought some in the past and they'd last 4 or 5 seasons. You replace the battery and you keep on going. This is the last one that I have that works. I think I have like 8 or 9 or 10 of them, and this is the only one that works. I bought 4 the year before last, and they didn't even make it through the end of duck season. The pulsator by Higdon, will it survive duck season? Well, based on the last 4 I bought, I'm saying no. But what say you? If you've bought a new one in the last year or so, what's your experience with them? Do you remember the old Malor machine? Now I'm talking about the thing that had a trolling motor that sucked it under the water. Okay, they came out in the late 90s, and that's what I'm talking about, the old Malor machine. This is the new Malor machine. It doesn't look anything like the old Malor machine. It's made by Mojo, and instead of it having 3 or 4 decoys like the old one did, it's got this one. I'm really impressed with it. This has got a propeller in the bottom. I'm going to turn it on and let you look at how the thing spins. See, just like that. Now I'm going to show you how to access the battery compartment in the tail right here. You actually turn it, and this is where the battery goes. This is where you charge it. There's the charging port, and then when you're done charging it, you plug this in and then take this and twist it on just like that. I'm gonna put it in the water and let you see what it does. You can use it in water depth only about 4 or 5 inches deeper than the decoy itself, and it still works really well. I mean, it doesn't make a big old giant flop and splash and all that. This moves around like a duck would, and it moves the water around, so your other decoys that are nearby are going to be moving around. I have been using this almost every single day of duck season last year from 24 to 25. They've not failed me. They've not had problems with leaking into them and then losing, you know, the charge, and they don't work and all the things. These work really, really well, and you can see how much water they move. You know, this is the summertime, and they've been sitting up in my shop for the last several months, and now I pulled them out, made sure they were charged, topped them off on the charger, and turned them back on, and they still work just like they did the last day of duck season. The Malor machine from Mojo Outdoors. It looks really great, doesn't it? But will it survive duck season? Well, after using 4 of them for an entire duck season, I'm saying yes. This is the Flashback. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've had a lot of people ask me, are these things really worth the money? And as you can see, I've got a few of them already going here next to me. They look like a duck. Very, very realistic. Let me show you how they work. This has got a head that spins around and back up through the top like this. Okay, I'm going to show you the bottom of the decoy. Okay, see, here's the bottom of the decoy, and so the head goes just like this and then comes back through itself. And then what happens is the weight of the head doing that causes the decoy to come like this, so it looks like a feeding duck, and then it comes back through this, and then it sits back down, the head comes up. It's just a very ingenious design, and it looks great. It looks just like feeding ducks. So let me show you how it works now. I'm going to get the battery pack out. This is the battery pack right here, okay? And you just can see it just floats just like that. Now we're going to plug it in. And then there it goes. Okay, and you just twist that till it locks on there. And then there's the decoy. Just like that. Now hold it so you can see how it works, just like that. Pretty cool. Now, I usually hunt in water that's about just maybe knee deep, sometimes a little bit less. This will run at about 4 or 5 inches of water, so I use it just about anywhere that I hunt. So that's very unique for me because I do hunt a lot of shallow water. So that's one reason why this decoy has worked so well for me. This cord, you can see this battery pack acts as a weight. Okay, I don't know how long that is. What is that, 5 feet long, something like that, 3, 4, 5 foot long. If you want to hunt in deeper water, it's got a hole right here, and you can punch in a Texas rig or tie on, you know, whatever depth you want. If you're hunting in really deep water, then you can just add on a weight to it. But man, I'll tell you what, this thing looks great. And I don't know about being bulletproof, but I've had these things for 3 duck seasons. I think 2 of them I've had for 2 duck seasons, and 2 of them I've had for 3 duck seasons, and I've never had a problem with any of them. I think I've only got 3 of them out here right now, but they are fantastic. These look banged up because I really haven't babied them, and that's a thing I think that is really shines about this product. You know, you don't have to treat it with kid gloves. I'm not saying you want to abuse it by any means, but I'm a duck hunting guide, and I do my best to take care of my stuff, but sometimes it gets banged up a little bit, and it's got some scratches. I probably ought to repaint these things, but they look great. And as you can see, they move a lot of water. They make a little bit of a splashing motion. I don't believe that I've ever flared ducks because of them, because they just look very realistic. Again, this is the Flashback from Duck Creek Decoys. So, will they survive duck season? Well, these have survived 3 seasons for me, and it's still growing strong. When Mojo came out with their original Flock-a-Flicker decoy, I thought this has got to be the greatest thing since the original spinner came out back in the 90s. I really liked the first version because it really worked, except it didn't last very long. They had problems. We would go through a dozen of them in a duck season. Some of them would only last a few days. And it was all due to water corroding the electronics because they couldn't keep water out. Corrosion happened, and then you would have a decoy that wouldn't work just in a matter of days, and definitely didn't survive duck season. But this one, it's much better build. It doesn't have the water and the condensation problems on the inside. Here's how it works. Just turn it on. It'll run for a few seconds and stop for a few seconds, and we'll put it in the water right here. Just like I've used some of my spinning wing full-size decoys, I tend to want to use them in a little bit of cover if there is some, or I'll tuck it up right next to a decoy if I can do that, and it just, you know, seems to help out a little bit. The Flock of Flicker 2 by Mojo. Did they survive duck season? Yes. Everybody knows what a spinning wing decoy is, I'm sure. They've definitely got pros and cons. There are definitely times to use them. The further north you are and the earlier during duck season it is, they tend to work better. There are definitely times that we use them in Arkansas, and sometimes more is better, sometimes less is better. I'm not going to get into all of the strategies that you'll do with spinning wing decoys, but I've had a lot of good success out of the Mojo brand decoys over the years. I happen to like the baby Mojos, the smaller ones. I like them better. I also like the teal size ones. The wings spin a little bit faster, and I think that the ducks like that better. But what I want to show you today is an add-on to a spinning wing decoy. This is the Animator by Bluebird Waterfowl. It is a very cool product. They came out with it several years ago, and it's very unique. I have 3 of them, and I also have the storage case that keeps them safe while I'm transporting them. Now, the way this works is real simple. You just add the Animator here to the spinning wing decoy. This, as you can see, has got this little knob that you turn, and then you can put this as high or low as you want. In fact, you can add on sections of this pipe or this rod here to make it in, you know, like 3 feet of water if you want to. But what you do is you run this down to where it just barely gets the top of the water. I mean, just barely. And that's when this is down, okay? So if you look at the way this works, this spins and it goes up like this as it comes around. So what you want is this at the bottom, and so then that hits right here. So then what happens when you turn your spinning wing decoy on, if I can find the, there it is. It makes a splash. Now, the splash does 2 things. You've got sound and you've got splash that you can see. So not only do you have the flash from the spinning wing decoys, you have the splash from the Animator as well as the audio, the sound of it, and it's a really cool product. Listen to the sound. Sounds really good. And if you're in the timber, you're in a quiet area, it's amazing how much difference that makes. Now, I don't have my remote with me, but the ideal way to run this is to use it with your remote and to turn it on and off. That's the way that we do anyway with our spinning wing decoys. That way you can turn them off when the ducks start coming in and all that. But just that splash, 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 splash. Another thing that you can do, I'm going to show you another trick, and I've done this quite a bit. Sometimes you don't want all the flash. Maybe you just want to run one wing. You can do that, just like this. Okay, so you don't have quite as much flash. What if you want to run it with no wings at all? How about that? And so now, even though you might say, well, gosh, I think they're flaring off of Mojos today. Well, you can take the wings off and still use the water, and then you just use your remote to turn it on and off. So let me show you something else you can do. If you want to run it a little bit deeper, because you want a little bit more water commotion, you can do it like that. Just run it another 1/2 inch deeper. You hear the difference in the sound that it makes? Okay, you can go a little bit more, just like that. Turn it back on. And one more time, if you want to go even deeper and you don't really care about the sound, you just want to move some water, get that sucker just a little bit lower, and then we'll turn it on and watch what happens. Okay, it's making ripples and it's not really making any noise. So you wouldn't want to do it with a spinner on it because it slows it down when you get it below the surface. But if you want to just use it strictly without the wings, you can do any of those types of things by moving it up and down, give it more splash, less splash, different tone on the sound, and it's just a great way you can use that device. The Animator from Bluebird Waterfowl. Okay, so technically this is an add-on, not a battery operated device. So it relies on the spinner for it to work. But I do believe it works and is a great addition to a spinning wing decoy. This is the Quick Koi decoy motion system, and as you can see, it's got decoys connected to these poles. There's 4 poles that are attached to this center base that has a propeller that will then move the raft of ducks around. And it's powered right here by this battery box. There's a 12-volt battery in this box. It's pretty heavy. And after you charge it up, you connect it right here to the device, and then you drop the battery box to the bottom, and then it will act as your anchor, and then it's just going to swim around. Now, the downside on this decoy system is that you can't run it in really shallow water. A lot of my duck hunting is in shallow water, under knee deep. It's not going to work in that situation. But anytime you're above knee deep, especially waist deep water, as I am in right now, it shines. I mean, it works really well the deeper the water, and especially if you don't have any stubble that's going to hang up in it. That's another, downfall of a lot of decoy motion systems is stubble. So you got to make sure you don't have anything that gets in the way. But it does have a stubble guard on the motor to keep it from little grass and stuff getting hung up in it very much. But as you can see, it moves the decoys around incredibly. It's very fast to deploy. You don't have to connect a bunch of junk together. All you gotta do is plug it in and throw it out. It comes with its own bag that you can carry it in and out of the field with, which is wonderful. And I've hunted over 3 or 4 of these at one time, and it's crazy good. Now they're expensive, but so far, this thing has lasted very well for me. My buddy that I hunt with quite often, he's got several of these and he's been hunting with them for years. So they're definitely durable and they'll last. The Quick Koi motion decoy system. They look absolutely incredible and they're so easy to use. But will they survive duck season? Another yes. I've been using motion decoys for nearly 30 years. Lots of different types. And one thing that I've learned that can pretty much go across the board is you want to make sure that when you get done hunting with them, to take them out of the water. Don't leave them sitting in the water, even though you may have turned them off. Get them out, let them dry out overnight, or however long it's going to be to the next time you hunt. You'll increase the life of your decoy if you do that. And if you're not doing it already, I know you're going to thank me down the road. Now, because we've been talking about motion decoys with batteries, I know there's going to be some guys that say, hey, what about a jerk rig? Well, I've got a video about that right here. Make sure you check it out. I'm Joel Strickland. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next video.